There was swirling speculation really all day yesterday around just whether the governing coalition could even be held together amidst the prospects of stopping this controversial legislative overhaul. And eventually, after talks with the Prime Minister, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, one of the most vocal critics of any kind of stoppage, announced that he had agreed to back Netanyahu's pause on the judicial legislation in exchange for a promise to create his long-sought National Guard. Now, the announcement came after Ben-Gvir reportedly threatened to quit the government if Netanyahu moved ahead with a plan to halt the overhaul. So, again, a lot of speculation yesterday about the stability of the situation. But we're joined now by Merav Lapidot, the former spokesperson for the Israeli police, joining us from Ramat Gan. Thanks for being with us. Look, I have to jump right into the main sort of controversial question on people's minds here. Given Ben-Gvir's record of antagonism, many are worried about this minister now. Why does he need his own police force? What's wrong with the current police? What's a police perspective on that?
Exactly as you said. Why? This is the main question. If you are going to establish a new National Guard, you ask yourself why? What doesn't work now? What is the problem with the current police? And then it comes to suspicious that it's going to be a private coalition, a private militia to address any goals of the Minister Ben-Gvir. And this is why everybody is worried. Besides that, nobody knows really what is going to be the authorities of this National Guard. What are they going to do? What are the police going to do? When a police officer addresses any event in the field, he has to know what is his authorities, what is expectations to do, what anybody is expecting of him to do in current events that he's going to help people, if it's terror attack or domestic violence or any other event. And for that moment, nobody really knows what is going to be.
Is there a clear chain of command right now? I mean, have there been issues already with unclear just who's really calling the shots with this new minister in charge of police now?
Yes, even now, before the National Guard established, there is a problem with the chain of command. If the minister of some of his people, which are out of the police force, are calling commanders on the field and say to them, do that or do not do that, it's a problem because this breaks the chain of command. And the chain of command is very important in any handling of any event, especially if we're talking about something like demonstrations, which are very important to democracy, or on the other hand, terror attack. If it's in the middle of terror attack and the commander in the field are getting different orders from different people, it's a problem because then he has to choose what does he do. And this is a problem. And the minister, which of course we have all the respect for him because he is a minister and we're in democracy, but he doesn't really know. He didn't handle ever in his life any kind of security event, military event.
Not from this side of it, at least. Yes, that's for sure.
Yes, not from that side of the...
Look, what kind of ripples did it cause inside the police when just a couple of weeks ago, Minister Ben-Gvir sacked the Tel Aviv police commander over his response to protests? Was that a sort of a wake-up call for the police in general? What was the reaction?
The reaction was that they understood that they cannot have this way to work. I mean, they have only one commander, and from that time, which Ben-Gvir wanted to do one thing and he actually did another, it strengthened the chain of command because they have understood that they have to listen only to their commanders, not to anybody else, because otherwise they are not going to be protected if the internal affairs are going to investigate them and they're not going to give a proper service, law enforcement service to the civilians. So eventually, Ami Eshed, the head of the Tel Aviv district police, he is still in his position and he handles the demonstrations very well, as we see, with no injuries of any sides, not police officers injured and not protesters.
That's an almost unbelievable aspect. I want to get your thoughts on it. It's almost a surreal aspect of the protest movement that's taken place for weeks now. And I know there have been incidents. I know there have been some minor injuries and scuffles with police. But overall, given the scale of this protest movement, how do you grade the conduct of the police? It seems like they've somehow navigated this complex situation fairly unscathed. I mean, that's not the public sentiment today, is bitterness towards police conduct or police brutality. Remarkable, I'd argue, remarkable to see this protest movement come through without scandal like that. Are the police doing things right, in other words?
I think that you have said it yourself. They're doing not only right, they're doing, I give them excellent grade for their handling all these protesters. Not only that there is the opportunity for any civilian to go out there and protest against something that he doesn't believe in, it goes smoothly, mainly. They are trying to let them do and go out and express whatever they want to express. And on the other way, they're trying to keep the civilian order and try to avoid them from blocking Ayalon highways. Usually they do that, and sometimes they just give them to do that for 1 or 2 hours, and then they evacuate out of the road so anybody can, go on with their lives. But eventually, after all of these events, I can say that mainly the police are getting very good grade of handling all these incidents inside the demonstration.
For all the complexities, at least, as I mentioned, it's not the subtitle today, at least, any kind of police scandal. So we'll see where things go from here. I appreciate you being with us. Merav Lapidot from the police here.